My name is Marvin Kirk, and I am a counselor here at College of Sequoia. Been here for 14 years.
Hey, Charles Parker. I teach English here at COS. I've been teaching here for 24 years.
I don't know that there's a difference between the march that happened in the past and the march that we just had, other than the fact that the topics have different titles. Okay, the topics haven't changed. There's not a change in the topics. They have different titles. The Trayvon case. That's a civil rights thing. There was a civil rights, violated. Looking at now with obviously President Obama being president. Now we're talking about an equality issue and how are we treating this person equally to other presidents in the past. Like I said, the topics are still the same. They just have different titles.
And it was measuring where we've come since the initial march on the Washington Mall with Dr. King. A lot of strides have been made. Race relations have improved significantly, but yet, as President Obama said, and the others, we still have a ways to go.
I don't think he was trying to make a big event out of it. It was more of, we're going to gather together, we're going to talk about civil rights, we're going to express that African Americans and really Americans need to be on the same page as far as living in this country together and working together to make this country a great country. And so when people began to hear about what him going in and speaking, then it became the big spectacle that it was.
When it happened, I was there. I was in Mississippi. I was living in the South because I'm from Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And I was a young boy. I didn't know much about it. The parents didn't talk about it, but I don't know if this is applicable to it because of his march on the Washington Mall and his quest to get equal rights for every individual. It just was not about Black Americans. It was for every individual. And then, of course, he was assassinated. And I recall the day because we couldn't go to school because there was going to be this big riot, and I saw some rioting, a big blackout. I saw people being beaten. I saw this as an 8-year-old boy.
I think as a young person, you don't really have a true understanding of what it meant. My parents went through it, and growing up in that area, but you don't really, as a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, learning about Martin Luther King, and I remember we used to go to the Martin Luther King Library in Sacramento and do birthday celebrations and things like that. And so you'd be in there and you'd see all the African American kids in there, singing "We Shall Overcome" and stuff like that. And that's really what the connection ended up becoming. This is more of a celebration of this person. He was a great leader. Someone assassinated him and killed him, and so you begin to sort of think about it from those perspectives.
Of course, being that young, I couldn't conceptualize it. So now as an adult, I could see why people would probably riot because they were upset that you have this champion, this hero, for equal rights, and so now he's taken down by an assassin bullet, and so you've taken, my hope away, the person who, instill hope in me that things in society are going to get better, because with the march, a lot of things begin to happen. Equal rights to vote and fair labor and all those things. And so this person is quickly taken, as he champions the cause, quickly taken away from you. So you can see how people would uprise. Not that I condone it.
As a minority, I think you always recognize that that you're different from other people. Um, you know, you grew up on the west side or the east side of the tracks. If you live on the west side, you're in the low socioeconomic area. If you live on the east side, and you're in the high socioeconomic area. We got money. People got swimming pools in their backyards. They got 3 and 4 cars. Parents live together or still married. On the other side of the tracks, people got 1 car. There's no swimming pools. You got a lot of single parents. Divorce rates are high. You got drug deals going on. People on the corners. That type of situation. So as you grow up, you see the surroundings and think, okay, this is what my surroundings are. And then you drive 5 blocks up the road, cross the railroad tracks, and it's a completely different world.
When I came back to Mississippi, I'm thinking, okay, things are better, and so I saw this white girl, who was one of my schoolmates. And so I was struggling in math a bit, and she, of course, was good in math, and so my math teacher selected her to be my tutor. So she's tutoring me, and I'm digging her and liking her, And so one day in the lunch line, I had a couple buddies who happened to be African American. They knew that I liked this white girl, and I'm just putting it in the terms because this is how it was at the time. And so she was in line ahead of me in the lunch line. I was behind her. So my friend came up, and he, took my hand and touched it, pushed it on her butt, and she turned around and she called me, "You stupid N-word."
You want to be in a situation where you're interacting with people that look like you and act like you, but you also want to be in a situation where I'm the only black person in my class, of 35 psychology students, and you want to be able to be in there and represent your race, your culture, but you're also trying to dispel the dumb jock syndrome. You're also trying to, there's all these things that are these stereotypes that you're having to deal with as or that I'm having to deal with as I'm going through to try to make it out of where I came from. And so that begins to, pull. Okay, and so then you begin to think, okay, well, is it worth it for me to do this? Should I continue and get this education? Should I just be a dumb jock and hang out in class, and be the idiot black person, in the class? They don't expect you to do anything anyway. And that's when you have to realize that the sacrifice of the civil rights movement, what Dr. King stood for, A. Philip Randolph, Harriet Tubman, what all those people did for me to have the opportunity to play football, for me to have the opportunity to get an education.
One experience with one of the students a while ago, a few years ago, is that I don't have any problems in saying that word, meant that back then. And plus, the conflict that it caused, back in that time period. That was in my parents' and my grandparents' time. This is present day society. I don't care what happened back there. It has no bearings on me today. That bothered me.